Welcome back to another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast where we talk about Lower Decks, that terrible, terrible Star Trek show.
It's getting harder and harder to talk about.
Oh boy, it really is.
And you know what's ironic? I think the episodes are actually getting better, but it's like I'm beyond caring at this point.
There was episode 7 was all right, but this latest episode 8 was like painful. It was just painful.
I actually really liked episode 8.
Are you serious? Crazy. Get out of here.
Yeah. It felt like a very kind of Star Trek-y storyline that took a drastic right turn at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I kind of liked
it. Everybody was just yelling the entire time. Like everybody's volume was like on 11.
That's what they do. That's what the whole show is every week.
Is it? You think
Pretty
so?
close, yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, we're live.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
All right, guys. Let's dive right into this before my internet craps out. Episode 7 of Star Trek Lower Decks.
Much Ado About Boimler is the episode title. And basically, this is an episode where Mariner tries to impress her best friend from Starfleet Academy, who is now a visiting captain. And Boimler is sent to a Starfleet medical ship after a transporter accident puts him out of phase. And we got a couple different storylines here. So this episode opens up with Tendi showing her genetically manipulated dog. And it's perfectly normal when she's around. And then, like, as soon as she leaves, it gets all freaky. Like, the thing.
A little weird.
Yeah, a little weird.
Weird.
Mariner is totally unfazed by it because I guess this is just normal for the lower decks crew. And basically, we have a whole storyline here with Division 14, which is like the medical arm of Starfleet that deals with stuff that the regular doctors just don't know how to deal with. It's kind of like Section 31, but for like the medical community, I guess. So Tendi goes with her dog when it's sent to Division 14 in this place called the Farm. At the farm, Tendi kind of talks to the dog. The dog can actually talk, it's revealed. And then it just like flies away. And she's like, "Oh, my dog is a freak. It belongs here."
You are a freak.
Yeah. Like the entire time she was trying to protect her dog from the place. And then she realized, oh, the dog really does belong here. And then when Tendi kind of comes face to face with an actual dog at the end of the episode, she's kind of disgusted by it because it licked her face. So I guess Orions don't really have dogs.
Well, why would they?
Apparently.
And for the Upper Decks crew, we have Captain Freeman, Shax, and Ransom.
She been on on Earth?
I don't know if she's been on Earth.
Well, she had to go to the Academy.
Do they have? Is it one of those things where the Starfleet Academy is like franchised across the galaxy, where you can go to like your local chapter?
She's been in the Academy.
No.
Anyway, Alex's internet is acting up, so we're gonna move on here. So there's a whole storyline here where Captain Freeman, Shax, and Ransom are selected for a secret mission due to their expertise in the germination of roulotte seeds. Vader, being a Star Trek fan, do you know what roulotte seeds are?
No. It's not ringing a bell. I just watched that episode last night too. I don't remember that part of the episode.
It's a very small, like, kind of like almost throwaway thing because like the captain and her crew are basically off ship, and that's the reason why Mariner's friend comes on as the substitute captain. But roulotte
the substitute captain. Okay,
yeah,
right.
Roulotte seeds are Cardassian seeds. I think they were mentioned very briefly in Deep Space Nine, but apparently they're incredibly volatile, and the crew needs to be able to plant them at a moment's notice, which is why they've been shut it off to a special classified mission. So I thought that was kind of like a humorous little Easter egg there.
This show is good at trying to like take advantage of all the Easter eggs and the callbacks and the references.
Obscure references.
That's kind of their gig right now. This is try to test us to see how many things we recognize, and so.
All right, so we got a visiting captain named Amina Ramsey, and she's old friends with Mariner. Ramsey has ambitions to promote Mariner and enlist her as her first officer while she's on the Cerritos. making Mariner concerned because Mariner doesn't want to be promoted. She likes being a ensign, I guess. And so Mariner goes on this mission to purposefully screw up her assignments to prevent Ramsey from wanting to elevate her to command positions. So the Cerritos goes to a bog planet, which Mariner finds to be among the worst planets to go to. And they find, and they have like a instance where that like they're repairing a water purifier, I guess you'd call it. And Mariner left all the tricorders on the ship, and so the team is not happy with her, even though they're able to fix the problem.
Right.
What did you guys think of Mariner's whole self-sabotage thing?
Well, this seems to be kind of like another theme of the show. It's like Mariner is like this really awesome.
I don't know if you guys can hear me or not.
Yeah, we can hear you.
She's like this really good Starfleet officer, and she's holding herself back on purpose. She's tanking, man, because she has to do some inner reflection and figure out what she wants to do with her life, because she doesn't want to be a Starfleet officer apparently. So I don't know what.
Yeah, she's literally the best at any job that she's given.
Yep.
And yet she kind of like doesn't want to like be put in command because I guess she thinks it's too boring or something like that. What I found odd is that this visiting captain, Ramsey,
she doesn't want
graduated with Mariner from Starfleet Academy at the exact same time. And yet she's a captain. And it's like, how young is she? Like, is there like an age limit for being promoted to captain in Starfleet?
I don't think there is. Kirk got put in there in the Kelvin timeline right out of the academy. Remember?
Well, typically, like, because there was that instance with Picard where in his initial assignment to, I forget the ship name, but the captain and the chain of command crew all got killed.
Right.
So he assumed command as an ensign and he became captain. But that was like kind of like a wartime promotion where
I also don't know if we really kind of grasp how old Mariner is. I don't feel like she just graduated from the academy like yesterday or anything. I feel like this is like her 5th or 6th ship, right? And
yeah, she's been on a lot of ships.
I feel like she's probably been around a little while,
but haven't they established that Mariner and Boimler are the same age?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I think in the first episode, Boimler said that we're the same age at some point.
I don't remember that. I mean, it's possible, but I don't know.
I wonder if that's just part of the gag with Mariner, where it's like she's young, but she's done all this stuff that she couldn't possibly have done, and the show knows it's ridiculous, and so like they just keep feeding into that or something. This attempt to kind of humanize her by having like a friend of hers show up and want to promote her, and then Mariner doesn't want to do it, so she intentionally screws up, and then like when the chips are down, she like steps up and actually is super competent. Like, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah, I don't like it. I know I don't like it. I'm checking out on this show like really fast, and more every week.
And I think a big part of the reason why like we're all checking out on the show is because of Mariner. Like, I like all the other characters, but she's the one kind of like weak link that like I just don't enjoy. I don't enjoy her storylines. I don't really enjoy her I guess the humor she adds to the dynamic. It's very weird. Like,
it is.
And they keep kind of putting her front and center. I think that's one of the reasons why I like the next episode better, is because like she had a smaller part in it.
Right.
But going on with this episode, so basically they find a ship called the Rubidoux adrift, and Captain Ramsey leads a team over to investigate. They find out that it's been infected with a like energy alien of some type that's taking over the ship. And basically Ramsey confronts Mariner about her self-sabotage, and Mariner says, I'll tell you what, if you stop trying to promote me, I'll stop acting like a screw up. And so they agree to do that in order to save the crew. And this is a payoff where, and we'll get to this when we talk about Boimler's storyline, Rutherford was playing with the transporters on the Cerritos, trying to make them faster. And at this point, like, they need a quick teleporter to get everyone off the ship before the ship gets overtaken. So Rutherford kind of emerges as the hero, where he uses his transporter speed fix to transport the entire crew back to the Cerritos. But of course, they're all out of phase, just like Boimler was.
Yep. I kind of found that amusing.
Yeah,
they're all
nice
sitting there, and they all got the energy transporter noise that going on, and it was like, oh man, you're like super annoying. Get out of here. I laughed at that. That was funny.
I actually enjoyed the that little space monster that they encountered on the ship. I thought that was clever. It was funny. Like, oh, it's a try. Well, we have to turn all the power off, otherwise it'll know we're here. And they're all like,
well,
you know
where that was from, right? You know where that alien's from, right?
No, tell me.
It's from the very first episode of The Next Generation.
The very first episode?
Yeah, the encounter at Farpoint, when it turned into the big jellyfish thing at the end. That's the same way Encounter at Farpoint ended, because they were all on this space station. It's where they picked up Riker and who else? Yeah, Riker and some of the people. They were joining the crew. And the space station ended up turning into one of those giant jellyfish things.
Oh.
And when it went up into space, and I was like, oh, seek new life and blah blah blah, and then it kind of shut off, and yeah. So that's where that callback went to. Everything in this show is a callback or a reference to something we've seen already. It seems like there's nothing new here.
Yeah.
So
getting to Boimler's storyline, Rutherford, like we talked about, he's experimenting with the ship's transporters, hoping to make them go slightly faster, and Boimler volunteers to help him out. And so, like, in the experimentation, Boimler goes out of phase, so he's like partially reconstructed, but he's also partially, like, still teleporting.
Yeah, you can see through him.
Yeah,
it's translucent.
And he's got the annoying transporter noise everywhere he goes. And so Boimler's freaking out about this because he really wanted to impress the visiting captain, and Captain Ramsey sends him to sickbay, where Dr. Tiana doesn't really know how to cure him, and but Rutherford's able to get rid of the annoying transporter sound. And this is where we're introduced to Division 14, which is a medical branch in Starfleet that handles unsolvable diseases and science mysteries. And so Tiana sends Tindy's dog and Boimler to this special spaceship that shows up, and it's all very dark and ominous. And the guy who shows up, he's we're never given a name, but he's an Indozan medical specialist, and he just looks like the most evil person like you could possibly imagine. And so he takes Boimler onto the ship, and basically Boimler meets like all the Starfleet like mistakes, like the people who like got messed up and science can't figure out how to fix them, and they've been on the ship for months. And so like they're convinced that the farm, which is supposed to be this utopic kind of like vacation spot for people to recoup from these terrible things and get cured, doesn't really exist, and that this horrible darkly lit ship is the farm. And so the crew is planning to mutiny, and Boimler, being Boimler, goes and fibs to the Indosian specialist, who then whips out a gun and uses force to quash this mutiny. And then he lets everyone know that Boimler was the one who told him about it.
And then he leaves him in there.
Yeah. And then when the patients are going to get revenge on Boimler by throwing him out an airlock. And it just so happens that the minute that they open the airlock door, they're actually on a planet, and Boimler just kind of falls out. And it's this beautiful planet with like this great facility, and everyone comes down and is like, "Where are we?" And the Indosian specialist kind of comes out, and he's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry for acting like such a jerk."
Yeah,
it's like I know it took a long time to get here, but this is the farm and all this other stuff. And I really enjoyed like how they use this character, because like he does this evil laugh, and everyone just kind of looks at him. He's just like, "What? This is how I laugh."
so that captain, have we seen him before? He reminds me a little bit of like that Eric's character from the animated series, from the original series.
We have not seen the captain of the Section 14 ship before.
So, but the third arm coming out of his chest kind of threw me, because I had to look it up to see if it was the same race, and I don't think it is. So,
no, his race is Edosin, Edosia.
No, that's it. I got him up on here right now. His name's he replaced Chekhov, I think, in the animated series, the original series. I don't know if either one of you guys have ever seen it, but if you look him up, his name is Arex, Arex, and that is what it is. It says right here. I'm on the Memory Alpha fandom website, and it says Lieutenant Arex was a male Edosian Starfleet officer who lived during the 23rd century. Blah blah blah, and he was on the crew of the Enterprise. So he's a callback too to an obscure race that we've only seen before.
I liked how he was like, maybe we could turn the lights on in the ship and make it like less intimidating. like the whole thing about the ship was just like so foreboding and like evil looking and nefarious looking. And he was like, yeah, maybe we could paint the walls a different color and like make the patients feel more at home so we can avoid future mutiny. I liked how like there's that like kind of like last minute shift where they kind of recognize like, oh, this is what the ship really looks like, and maybe we could do this to fix it. I thought that was funny. But yeah, the Indosian specialist.
There's one thing I really liked about this fucking internet. I don't know if you guys can hear me. There's one thing that I really liked about this was the voice actor who did the old man and the young guy that were split. I thought that was really well done, because he would go in a full sentence. He would go from being like this grizzled old man to like this young voice of a kid, and just transition forth really flawlessly. And that character actually did make me laugh a couple of times. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, this show doesn't suffer from. yeah, we heard you.
Yeah, you're fine.
The show doesn't suffer from bad characters except for Boimler, I think. The scenarios that the show plays out and the characters that they put in those scenarios are all pretty entertaining. But as a cohesive whole, like I'm not sure if it's jiving quite like it should.
Yep.
But anyway, so at the farm, Boimler naturally reverts back to his own self. He finally gets back in phase just as he's about to enjoy like the treatments from the sexy nurses, and he and Tendi go back to the Cerritos, and he tries to get Rutherford to give him another medical malady so that he can go back to.
Like, I want to go back.
Yeah,
there's hot chicks on the Paradise Planet. Yeah, that was pretty good. Hey, we got a few people in the chat now. If they're showing up, that's good. So, Mr. Hulk is here. Sean's here. Cyber's here. That's good. Nice to see those guys there. Our normal.
So, let's have final thoughts about episode 7. What Much Ado About Boimler?
Oh, it's just just more lower decks nonsense. They throw as much old school crap in there as they can to see if us nerds can see where it came from. I think that's kind of the thing. It's as far as a cohesive story, it wasn't that great. It wasn't much there.
Yeah,
just more Easter eggs and stuff. That's all it is. That's what this show does. So
I feel like Alex needs to go on a Division 14 excursion to get his internet working.
Yeah,
because he keeps freezing up on us. Upgrade your internet, buddy. He's like sometimes it's fine, but it never works fine when he's with us.
Yeah. Never does.
All
Can't edit these.
All right. Oh, that's a great picture.
That's nice. Sniffing his microphone.
Yeah. Right. Alex, did you have anything you wanted to say about episode 7?
If I can get anything, no. I mean, I had a couple chuckles at it, but it was kind of just meh.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear that or not.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Yeah, you're good.
I don't know if he can hear us though. That might be the thing. All right, moving on to episode 8, which is entitled Veritas. And I actually really liked the this episode. But let's talk about it. So Mariner, Boimler, Tendi, and Rutherford are all caught off guard when aliens force them to testify about a series of seemingly unrelated events. And basically, it starts off with all 4 of our main Lower Decks characters kind of put into looks like a cell of some type. And I think they make a joke about it being just like a Klingon prison.
Yep.
So like they're obviously like, oh, we're in a prison, and then they're lifted up into this like arena where the upper decks crew is kind of suspended in this beam of light, and it looks just like your typical Next Generation. The crew is on trial storyline.
Yep.
And so they're being interrogated by this alien named Klar, and basically like he's asking them about the events of a certain star date. And Mariner and Boimler are like Mariner's the first one to be interrogated, and she recounts that there was like a red alert, and she goes to the bridge along with Boimler, and they sneak on there because like Rutherford hadn't turned on the red alerts in the cargo bay that they were working in. And there are these aliens called Clickets, and Captain Freeman beams back on board from their ship with a map of the neutral zone, and the Clickets want it back because I guess she insulted them by being polite. I don't know much about Clickets, but apparently they take being polite as an insult.
Yeah.
So we have this scene where Freeman asks Boimler and Mariner for options, and she's like, there are no wrong answers, and then Boimler proceeds to give her a bunch of wrong answers.
I love the one part that did make me laugh about this was they were like, send him a message, and she shoots their phasers at him, and they're like, what are you doing? Like,
I would have
that's
done the
what
same
send a
thing.
message me. Yeah, that's exactly what that means.
Yeah,
That was a
and the
good
captain's like I meant invite them over for dinner.
It was sick, but it did make me chuckle.
Yeah, like those are the types of gags I like, I think, but they are kind of silly. So anyway, the Klar, the alien who's interrogating Mariner, doesn't like her answers, so he has her suspended over the tank of contempt, which is full of eels.
Eels, we have eels here.
Yeah.
Eels.
And before she can be dropped in there, Boimler comes to her, rescue and says, like, I was there, I can vouch for this, blah, blah, blah. So then, see here, Klar turns his attention to Rutherford and asks him to use his cybernetic implant to have perfect recall of a certain star date. And it just so happens that Rutherford was approached by Shax and Billups to use his implant to, upload Romulan flight manuals and repair information. And in order to do that, he's got to like reboot his implant. And he never does that when he's conscious. He always does it when he's sleeping. And so his implant kind of takes over, and like he goes unconscious. And then like he'll have these flashes of consciousness where like he comes back, and then like as soon as the implant starts updating again, like he loses time. And
I did, yeah, exactly. I did kind of enjoy that, the way they were telling his story of that. It's kind of fun watching it turn in and turn off, and he was in a different spot every time with no memory of how he got there. It's like, what's going on now?
I did have a question about that though, like because it shows him the first time when it updates that he like passes out completely and he's like unconscious. So is he unconscious the whole time, or is he only unconscious for a minute and he just doesn't remember like the boot up sequence of events? Because he goes into like a Vulcan fighting area and he like neck pinches a bunch of people. Like, was he asleep for that, or does he just not remember?
No, he's unconscious because his implant has taken over during the update.
Okay.
And it's only after the update's complete that like he comes back and he remembers stuff. So, all the missing time is the implants running things.
Okay, so his body is physically doing things, but it's the implant that's running the show while his real mind sleeps.
Here's the trick about that. Here's the trick, Salty. Don't think about it too hard.
What's up?
Don't think about it too hard. And
well,
you'll be okay.
I mean, I just wanted to know. I wanted to get some clarification.
So Rutherford wakes up on a ship with a bunch of unconscious Vulcans in their underwear, and apparently, like, he wasn't supposed to knock them out, but he did anyway. And Shax is very impressed by that. Then he wakes up in a like hangar bay, I guess, where Shax is trying to steal a Romulan bird of prey. And this was one of, I think, the funniest moments in the episode, where Shax is like, "Don't draw attention," and then there's a security guard. He's like, "Hey, what's that drawing my attention over
Yeah.
there?" and then Shax is like, "Quick, distract him. Do the fan dance." And so, like, there's that callback to the Uhura fan dance from
Star Trek 5.
Star Trek 5. And Rutherford doesn't know how to do the fan dance, so he's just doing this thing. And
the guard's like, "I don't want that fan dance. I want the other fan dance."
yeah, he's like, "Why are you distracting me? I find this very distracting."
It's so stupid.
Yeah, but it was pretty funny. And so, like, then he wakes up and he's on a cloaked bird of prey, and at first it looks like he's just out in space, but then it turns out like the ship uncloaks, and we see it's like that classic Star Trek bird of prey type of ship, and Billups is on there too, but he's about to lose all of his oxygen. So Rutherford saves him right before, like, the implant takes over again. He loses time, and then we get what's probably the biggest answer to any question any of us have ever had, which is, what does a Gorn wedding look like? Because Rutherford wakes up in the middle of a Gorn wedding. I've always wondered what a Gorn wedding was like. I don't know about you guys.
Never have that thought crossed my mind ever, not once.
I'm glad we finally got to see it, and it looks very much like a regular wedding.
Yeah.
So it's got the groom in a tuxedo,
really
and everyone's sitting in fold-out chairs.
And apparently they
all
like
started-
to chew on each other.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was funny that they were trying to eat him, and then like he blacks out because his update thing comes on, and he wakes up and he thinks he's out of it. He's like, "Oh, I'm safe," and then you see a Gorg come out like, "Rah!"
yeah, they're all still eating
It
him.
was- Yeah, there's all still chewing on him. He's like freaking out. It had a moment. There was a moment there where I chuckled, but yeah, the wedding thing, it just looked like a normal human wedding. I don't know if that's going to upset Star Trek fans or not, because they didn't really have any. There was no originality with that.
I actually liked that it was kind of like a normal affair.
Of course you do.
Yeah. So the next story in person that's interrogated is Tendi. And so as an ensign, her job is to clean the conference room, because Dr. Tiana sheds a lot. So she's got to get all the cat hair off the conference room chairs. And
That made me
Ransom
laugh when
shows
she said
up. Yeah, Ransom shows up with a special ops team, and they ask her if she's the cleaner. I guess the cleaner is a member of a special ops group that is supposed to, like, help them escape from, whatever, or extract them from whatever mission they're going on. And Tendi thinks, "Oh, I'm here to clean the conference room, so yes, I'm the cleaner." So they take her on this, like, secret mission, and she's just kind of going along because she's too polite to tell them, that she's out of her element here. And they go to recover this package that the Romulans have, and there are two parts.
I'm sorry, before we get too deep into this, she's part of this trial, and this person's asking her to recount this star date, and because it's classified, she's like, "Oh, it's classified, so I have to leave out some information." So in the cartoon, and from her point of view, the way she's telling the story, all the people's eyes are redacted, so you can't see their faces. And the guy freaks out, like, "You can't redact what they look like," and she's like, "It's classified." And they maintain that for the entire freaking story, and I thought that was pretty clever. I thought it was funny.
Yeah. So the first part is when they're on the bird of prey ship that Rutherford and his team helped steal, and they're cloaked and they're going towards Romulus. And there's a scene where, like, these other, like, Romulan ships keep showing up, and the guy's like, "They're scanning us," and of course, because they're cloaked, they don't see him. And that happened like 4 or 5 times.
I hated this one.
I thought that was kind of
I
funny.
hated that sequence. No, I hated it because they overdid it. Like, if it was funny like the first 2 times, but they, like, went over and over and over again. We're like, "They're scanning us." No, they're not. Now they're scanning us again. No, they're not. I'm like, shut up.
But then when they get to Romulus and they're trying to extract this package, it had one of what I think is one of the best jokes in the show, which is there are these two Romulan guards just walking, and one of them turns to the other and he says, "You know what I really hate? Remans."
Remans, those
Yeah.
dirty Remans. Yeah.
Dirty Remans. And Romulus and Remus. That's a whole Star Trek thing. But like, I just love the fact that they took the time to acknowledge it and like had that line in there, because like that's a funny line to me. It's just like, oh, you know what I hate? Remans.
Remans,
Yep.
like just completely straight face, a throwaway line right before the real story takes over. Yeah, it was pretty clever. It was funny.
And so Tindy talks about how the team recouped the package from Romulus and snuck it back, and but she doesn't know what was in the package. And so the guy who's interrogating her, Char, he gets really upset, puts her over the tank of contempt, and then turns on the heaters to agitate the eels. And Tindy thinks that's a little bit cruel to the eels, to boiling the
We're
water.
being mean to the eels. Yeah.
And so at this point, Boimler has his Picard moment where he basically stands up to save the trial. And he has this big impassioned speech that, kind of sets the record straight. But the joke is that he ends up ruining the whole thing due to his defiance, because like it's not actually a trial, it's a party. And Char reveals that he was the guy who was being held captive in the package that Ransom's team kind of extracted from Romulus, and this is a celebration of the crew that saved his life. And when the lights come on, we see that the trial silo that they were in is actually like it's like a party
It's a convention room. It's a
convention room.
Yeah,
and
it's funny.
And Char is
the judge that's like overlooking the whole thing. Boimler's like, "What about that guy? I thought he was the judge." And he's like, "Oh, don't look at me. I'm just watching."
No, he's like I'm here for my daughter's 100th birthday party. I got the room back.
That's right.
Yeah.
and they got like the history stone where he was going to like have the antics of the Cerritos crew etched for all of time to celebrate what they did. And because the lower decks crew didn't talk about all the good stuff, like he couldn't etch anything in there. And Char's like this is where I had my wedding. Like this is supposed to be a great place. And they're like, why didn't the command crew tell us what was going on? And they were like, oh, we were just being respectful in our silence, type thing. So like this whole like one. Yeah. This whole 180 thing, it was just like this kind of play off of the typical Next Generation, crew on trial storyline that we've seen like a million times.
Yeah, every series has done a few episodes of their take on the trial episode, the Drumhead episode. So yeah.
I like that. Like the coordinator of the celebration silo comes in. He's like, "You only paid for 24 minutes."
22
minutes.
22 minutes. Yeah.
Which is the exact runtime of the episode. Actually, it's 24 minutes. So like they had a couple minutes in there. But there were two more things that we got to cover about this episode before we move on. And the first is like there was a gag with Dr. Tiana, the cat lady, where she mistook the USS Alhambra for the USS Cerritos, and she thought that she was on a ship from a parallel universe. And everyone on the ship looks just like characters from the Cerritos, but like they got like goatees. Yeah. And I think Shax was
gender swapped.
Yeah, gender swapped. And Boimler was like an alien and stuff like that. And I thought that was kind of like a funny thing because Tiana's like, all these ships look the same.
Yeah, that did make me chuckle a little bit. It was funny because she was like, everybody around here is acting like they don't know me. And that's like legit straight out of like one of the episodes with Crusher from Next Generation where everybody on the Enterprise forgot who she was.
Did you guys catch the cat lady?
It's clever. I mean, there's a lot of clever references in the show.
Did you catch the part where they bleeped it out where she said, "I guess I'll go have to shave my pussy now"? Did you see that?
I didn't catch that one.
I'm like, oh, that's a little rude for a Star Trek episode, but yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that was a good throwaway gag. And then we had 2 Q cameos in this.
Oh, those were
episode.
terrible. Those were so bad.
Yeah, that was bad.
I wanted a Q episode, not a cameo in the last 30 seconds of the show.
I actually
Yeah,
like
even
that
his
they didn't base the whole episode around him.
Yeah. They made it super weird too.
Yeah, because they had him like dressed up like chess pieces, like playing against cards
Yeah.
or something like that. I just a little bit much. Like I thought it was. I mean, I guess this is kind of the as per usual for the show. They always go overboard with everything, but I thought the Q cameo thing was kind of cringy more than it was fun. Like some of the other cameos and the other references are really fun and funny. This just seems kind of cringy.
Well,
to me.
they probably only were able to afford Delancey for like 2 hours of time in the booth, so they had to cram it in as much stuff as they could. So
I do like that, like Mariner, like at the end when Q shows up and challenges them to a duel, Mariner's just like, "Go bother Picard, Q." Like,
Yeah.
so over Q showing up and
he's so boring.
yeah, Q's just like all he does is quote Shakespeare and make wine.
So does like everybody in Starfleet know the inner workings of the Enterprise? Like watch the show like we have. It's what we're feeling like is happening here.
Well, that's what, like I said earlier, that's what this show does. It just kind of like tries to scratch that itch that the fans have for Easter eggs and callbacks.
Because even
stuff.
Boimler was like, that one time Dr. Crusher went to that planet and yada yada yada, and I'm like, how does he know that?
Yeah, and she fell in love with the ghost in her family
Yeah.
candle or whatever. It was goofy. Yeah.
I think a lot of the ensigns in this show read the officers' logs that are, I guess, archived at Starfleet. So like that's how they know about the adventures of, the most famous Enterprise or the most famous Starfleet crew. They just keep up on that stuff.
Yeah.
And like the adventures of Enterprise D, the Picard's crew, were kind of like universe shaping for a lot of stuff. Like, they were the first to do certain things. So like my concept of this is that Starfleet teaches these things because like this was like first contact with this race, or this was the first time we encountered a scenario like this, and this is how they solved it. And so I feel like a lot of people from the Academy get inundated with this stuff, and they just kind of learn about these characters that we've watched in these series through that method.
I feel like it's our version of like YouTube videos. Like, did you see the latest video about what Picard did with Q? Like, oh, I gotta read that, like a tabloid magazine or something.
Something like that.
Well, and what everybody should be doing is they should be terrified that there's an entity like Q out there to begin with who could, in their existence, when he wakes up in an angry mood one morning.
Yeah.
So
Just snap his fingers and it's all done. He's God, basically.
Yep.
He's presented more or less like God in the Next Generation.
there's a whole bunch of them. There's a whole continuum. That was me hitting my microphone with my bottle on accident. So,
all right, guys. So, what was your take on Veritas?
I'm trying to think. I liked this episode. No, what did I say before? I can't remember what I said before.
You didn't like Veritas, but you liked the episode before it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I liked exploring the reasons why Mariner is kind of like a screw up. She doesn't want to be promoted. She sees these duties as being like a drag on her life, and she doesn't want to have to follow all these Starfleet rules. She wants to be on the lower decks, off the radar a little bit. And when she gets presented with one of her friends who's become a captain, it kind of like, I don't know. I liked exploring the reasons why she is the way she is. It kind of gives us.
But they didn't really explore it though. Well, like she just clicked into super Starfleet chick mode for a couple minutes and
Michael Burnham mode.
Yeah, and then it was over. It was just
Well, no, just we know why she is that way now. She's like, I just don't want to be. She doesn't want to be that person. She wants to do something else. So I enjoyed like the idea that
she's lower decking so she can explore what she wants to do with herself.
Yeah, it's not it's her fault for doing it. It's not like, oh, I'm just this way. She's doing it for a purpose. So I was like, okay, I get it. And I like the scenario that they had to go and rescue those people, and then with the transporter gag with the shimmering, shining thing. I thought that was more enjoyable. This episode that we just talked about, the trial kind of came off as cringy to me. of the humor didn't really work. Tindy's was by far the best storyline with like redacted face stuff. And oh, did I just get lost? Shit.
No,
We can hear you. You just your picture's
okay.
frozen.
Oh, video's just gone. I every time
Yeah.
my screen goes blank and I just get the little buffering look.
Mhm.
Anyway, Tindy's was by far the best part of this episode, and that was really the main reason, the main thing that I liked about it. But go ahead, Vader. What were you gonna say?
I wasn't gonna say anything. I was just gonna mention that I'm really not down with this show. I'm finding it like a one gag show. It's just all about callbacks and Easter eggs, and so it's not doing much for me.
Yeah, like
It's-
I enjoyed these last 2 episodes, but this show it's not like must-see TV for me.
No.
It's kind of like I'm not looking forward to the next episode. I'm not like thinking about it. Like it's one of those things where like I'll watch it for 24 minutes and then like it's out of my consciousness for the rest of the day. You know, like I don't really spend time thinking about it, and I don't really look forward to watching more of it. It's just kind of like, honestly, like if we weren't doing reviews for this, I don't know how much time I'd actually spend thinking about it.
I would spend 22 minutes a week.
Yeah. I will say this though, it's better than Picard,
It is better than Picard. Yeah.
but that's not a high bar.
No.
I have more fun talking about the show with you guys than I do actually watching the show. I watch the show and I'm just kind of I'll chuckle once in a while, but then when I talk about it with you and I remember scenes and Kate starts giggling at something that he thought was funny, it makes me remember it, and it's more fun to talk about than it is to actually watch.
If it was a good show to watch every episode, I would probably sit there. I would go get my my big thick Star Trek encyclopedia, and I would probably look up every single reference I could find in the show, so I could talk about it on this show that we're doing right now. But I don't care. So it's just one of those things.
And we've only got 2 more episodes this season before we get into season 3 of Discovery. And are either of you guys looking forward to that show?
What, Discovery?
Yeah.
Discovery?
Not really.
I'm not going to commit to doing any kind of a review on it until after we get a good way into the season, so that I know.
sure.
Well, I'd be down for
worth
doing a season 1 review once it's all over, but doing the day-to-day, week to week recap,
No.
like that show, I remember season 2 was hard to get through, and season 1 was hard to get through as well. And all 3 of us tried to give it the benefit of the doubt each time, and we were,
It's like we're all big Star Trek nerds.
Yeah.
We're just
we love Star Trek.
Kurtzman.
keep
Kurtzman,
disappointing
Star Trek is not doing it for us. So, or most people out there. So for sure.
I have a glimmer of hope with the Anson Mount TV show that they're supposed to be putting out pretty soon. That one is intriguing to me. So, but that's pretty much all I'm really looking for in Star Trek right now.
If it ever actually happens, I get it.
All right, guys. Well, those were our thoughts on episodes 7 and 8 of Star Trek Lower Decks. And is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
Nope. I'm good.
All right, Alex, why don't you take us out?
For us, not really a chat. I'll look forward to in 2 weeks when we do a season finale.
What did he say?
I don't know if I can do the outro. Vader, why don't you do the outro?
I don't. Oh yeah, that's funny. Let me do the outro. I think you said something about we'll be back in 2 weeks and we'll finish the season off, right? Something like that. So
yeah, the Star Trek shows are always the ones that get pushed back because we care about them the least.
Yeah, for sure.
Or it's like we got to do like 3 shows today, and we got to do Star Trek too.
We'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah. No one cares.
No one gives a
cares
shit
about our opinion about this stuff.
For sure.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all for showing up and talking Star Trek with us. We really appreciate those who showed up in the chat. This was kind of a last-minute thing, but it was a lot of fun. As always, Matt Vader, where can they find you?
At Matt Vader 74, right here on YouTube and Twitter.
Watch him open mail on YouTube.
Yeah, and also Twitch. Come follow me on Twitch guys, we're getting ready to play some World of Warcraft. The new expansion's out very soon. So that's
and you can find Alex at salty_nerd on Twitter. And I don't think he does anything else anymore. Is that correct, Alex?
And he's gone.
Yeah, and he's just frozen. Yeah. Well, you can find Alex at salty_nerd on Twitter, and I believe he's still on Instagram at Salty Nerd Podcast at Instagram. But we always link everyone's socials in the description of our videos. So if you guys really want to follow us, you can find us there. I'm Matthew Kadish. You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter, and kadishbooks.com. That'll take you to my Amazon page if you want to check out my books. And don't forget that we've got a new episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast out right now talking about Schwarzenegger movies. So if you're a big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger, be sure to check that out. And next week, we are dropping an episode all about zombies, just in time for October. So that's a good one, too. So if you haven't subscribed to the Salty Nerd Podcast, please do so. You can go to saltynerdpodcast.com. That'll take you right to our podcast page. It's free to subscribe. New episodes downloaded right to your phone, so you can listen to them while you're commuting, in the car, or if you're working out or something like that. We're a comedy podcast, so we make movies fun and funny, especially this guy over here, Matt Bader. He's our color commentator. So we like to educate while we entertain as well. So we talk about all types of fun movie factoids, as well as getting a little bit salty about some of the worst aspects of movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. Yesterday I was doing shots at 10 a.m.
Yeah,
it was great.
Sure was. He was getting lit. All right, guys. This is Matthew Kadish and Matt Vader and Salty Nerd. And we will catch you guys later.
See ya. Are we out? Mm.